Well, I'll go ahead and get started. For those of you I haven't met yet, my name is Steve Loy. I've been appointed the director of coaching, and I'm going to be in charge of the coaches meetings from here on out, even when Alex is not coaching somewhere. But what I wanted to do tonight is mostly just give you a framework or a rundown of things that need to be done and thought about now. And as we head into tryouts, which obviously is one of the most important times for our club. So the first thing that I want to cover is the pre-tryout. So basically now, and after each kind of section that I go over, I'll open it up for questions. But there's some things that need to happen before we get to tryouts, and the first of which is you need to determine the number of players you need to add to your team next season, include addressing needs in the areas that you would like to improve, but have a game plan or an idea of what you're looking for. If you're one of those age groups that are planning on merging because you're going to age up and end up going 11 aside, or you're going to go 99, try to figure out what your needs are and whether there are any other teams that you can combine with, and do the legwork on that right now. That's not something we want to really approach and talk about on the day of tryouts. We need to have an idea of what we're doing with those age groups before then. Have conversations with the coaches in the same club if you want to merge, or if you think you can merge. Determine what you're going to do, who's going to coach. You can include me in those conversations, and certainly keep me informed of that, especially if there's some issues. I know with our 8th graders that are going to be freshmen next year, we have some issues with some of the players not being old enough or being old enough to be on that team, but will be 8th graders. And so we want to start working out that right now and giving those kids comfort and at least a plan in place for what we're going to do with them when they can't play in the fall because they're the same age, but their teammates are playing high school soccer, and then they're left with no one to play with in the fall. So those are certainly things we want to address right now. You need to start thinking about, if you're continuing and staying with your team, where you want to play in the fall. It is completely up to you whether I've already had a couple questions and emails. Do you think it's smart to stay at Heartland, or do you think we should be a tournament only team? You need to feel out kind of what your parents and players want and need as the coach. Determine what you think would be best for their development. All decisions need to be made for the development of the players. Not so much, well, I don't like Heartland, I don't like the referees. It's whether your players are developing there, whether your players could develop just doing tournaments only, whether you want to do a friendly format. Some coaches just contact teams that they want to play, and then maybe work it out with Alex to where you can schedule some games at Sunflower, but you have choices. But you need to start thinking about where you're going to play so that you can inform parents at tryouts, and not just say, well, maybe we'll play here or maybe we'll play there. If you think you're a travel team and you want to go out of state, you need to prep those parents for it tryouts so that there's no surprises when you say, hey, I plan on going to St. Louis or the USA Cup. And they're like, oh, we didn't sign up for this. So have those thoughts going in your head right now. Obviously, you can change and adapt to what you get at tryouts and what happens. But at least if you have a plan going in, then you look like you're more professional and ready for the tryouts. I need help with pre-camp. You should want to help with pre-camp because that's the way you get exposed to new players and existing players. That's where you obviously can't recruit technically at pre-camp, but you can identify players and you can see them for 4 days instead of that hour and a half or hour that we blocked for tryouts. I will release what I have as far as the schedule and the times obviously tryouts has got throw us for a little bit of a loop this year because we're on a Tuesday night. We don't have all day Saturday and we don't have all day Sunday. So I did my best to put teams and environments that I think would be best for them. If you don't feel that way, we can talk about that a little bit more when we talk about the tryout schedule here in a minute. You need to email your team about tryout times and pre-camp. This is a must because we're getting phone calls at Sunflower right now with parents going, hey, we're out of the loop. We don't know, do we need to be doing pre-camp? Do we need to do this or that? Let them know. Let them know. It's actually on the calendar on the website right now. So if you went to TopekaSoccerClub.com, you would see that under the calendar section, we've listed the pre-camp there, the times. So keep your parents involved, keep them informed. May 15th, your players that are existing on your roster can accept their roster spots if you offer them to them. So make sure you think about that too. That throws for another loop as far as considering who for sure you want to keep. You may want to have that conversation with them on May 15th. Make sure that they know that you want to keep them and you're not looking to make changes in their spot. Determine if there is any equipment needs that you need for the day of tryouts. My plan is, and as I talk about tryouts, is I want to make sure that you guys have the best environment and the facilities ready for you. That means I'm going to plan on having small goals on every field, in addition to the actual goals that are placed on your field. So 9v9 should have 9v9 goals. 7v7 will have 7v7 goals, and then the 11-a-side kids will have full-size goals. So in addition to those, I want to give you small-sided goals so that you can obviously run a session where if you don't have the opportunity to use two big goals, you can at least play a game in the end to watch your players play. So does anybody have any questions with the information that I've gone over so far? All right. Well, then I'll get to the tryout schedule. I am going to email everybody the tryout. Basically, it's a PDF. It's a map of the facility. On there, I put your times. Understand that we don't have an incredible amount of flexibility. We have daylight hours to work. We've determined that at this time with the parents that we work with here in Topeka, that the possibility of doing day tryouts are probably not realistic. So we're going to begin at 5 and we're going to end at 8:30. And so in there, I've cushioned times for players to get off the field, for you to have conversations with parents and not be rushed, for the next coach to be able to organize their session ahead of time. So hopefully we can all fit inside of that framework. So when you get this, and I'm going to use TeamSnap because that's what Sunflower set me up with as far as getting a hold of you. So please check your TeamSnap for that message from me. And I will include the map and the tryout times. I expect there'll be a little bit of shuffling because I've already had a couple people say, hey, I'm going to merge with this team. I want to be on the same field as them. And we can make those switches. Those aren't a huge problem. So right now I have us scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday. Saturday and Sunday, or I don't know if you guys want to do Thursday, Friday, but the next date would be Saturday and Sunday. And I have that at TBA right now because I don't know if you do back-to-back, if you do Tuesday and Wednesday night at the same times is what I plan. I haven't flip-flopped anybody's time. So if you're at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night, you'll be 6 o'clock on Wednesday night. But if you need more than 2 days to pick your team, then you'll need to give me the time that you want to be out there. And so right now it'll be listed as TBA. So when you guys look at that map, it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday for right now. And again, just let me know if there's any changes that need to be made. Does anybody have any questions about the map and the times that I'm going to send you? I really, really would prefer if you guys will make sure that you look at them in the next week, because we're getting kind of itchy to get it all formalized. Obviously, well, if you didn't know, we can't post them until a certain time anyway. But I don't want you to wait till they're posted to tell me we need to change, because at that point it'll be kind of difficult. Okay. All right. So as we move into tryouts, there's a couple things, and these may be changes, maybe just old news for most of you that have done this before, but does need to be reminded. The first is, having done this for so long and been to so many different tryouts for my own kids and other teams and stuff, the first impression is huge. Okay. You guys, your first impression parent gets when they come to the tryouts makes a world of difference in their decision. We need to show that we're professionals, that we're running a professional organization. That includes you. They need to believe that you're the best choice to develop their child. Everybody needs to be wearing the Topeka Soccer Club gear. If you don't have any, contact me. I'll make sure that you have Topeka Select or Topeka Soccer Club, gear to wear. We need to be able to communicate clearly with everybody and create an environment that shows you what they can do, but it is also fun. So don't be running sessions that are completely drill oriented. Make sure that they get time to play. And remember, and this is the key, remember that this is the most stressful week, not only for you, but for the parents and the players. The parents and players go through a tremendous amount of stress worrying about this week. Even if they accepted a roster spot from you on May 15th, they're worried about who their teammates are going to be, where their friends may leave and go. So it's a stressful time for them. So my number one thing on tryouts is I want everybody to have a plan ahead of time. Arrive early enough that you can get your session set up before the training begins. That means get your cones out, get your pennies out, get whatever you need to do, move the goals. I'll be out there running around trying to address things that anybody needs. So make sure that you have everything set up. I really, really want people to help with other sessions. And the reason why we want to help with other sessions is because it's hard to coach the session and identify players. And that's what really needs to happen. But the players also need to know who their coach is going to be and their mannerisms and how they're going to react to them. So I don't want the coach to not coach at all, but maybe during the free play, the game at the end that everybody should have to see their players and their positions. Maybe that's when you're taking notes and finalizing and talking to maybe the other people that are helping you and saying, hey, what do you see? What do you see? I know we did that last year, and with the select guys, we've done that for a few years where we go and we help out. And you don't have to be knowledgeable in that age group. If you're a coach, you should be able to go help somebody else out and at least say, hey, coach, what do you need me to do while you're watching? You need me to make sure that they're playing a possession drill or game, whatever. But if we can have extra players, if you don't just come, do your session and then leave, that would be really, really helpful. And it's needed. I won't say it's mandatory, but I really hope that I have enough people around that we can make sure that all the coaches have the time they need to make the decisions. Have a warm-up activity as the players arrive so that they're active and ready. And this would be a great thing for one of those helpers to do is say, hey, this is what I want you to do for a warm-up. Get the players moving so they're not just all sitting in a little huddle waiting for you to start their session. This is also a chance for you to greet the parents and the players, make them all feel welcome. During the game phase of players, make sure that the players are where they want to be seen. I walked past a session last summer, and I was talking to a player just saying, hey, how's it going? And they're like, oh, it's fine. I said, are you having fun? He goes, well, I'm not playing where I normally play. I'm not playing there. And that's really difficult to understand because they're trying out for a position, and in the younger ages, they're not trying out for position so much. But in the older players, and this player was older, they want to be seen where they're going to look the best. So make sure that you get them in, manipulate the game however you need. If you've got a kid you've already signed and he's your attacking midfielder and there's another attacking midfielder that isn't getting in, have your attacking midfielder play defense or whatever, if you know them well enough, and say, hey, I'm gonna need you to go play defense or go play goalie or whatever, so I can see this other player. So you need to speak with parents. Speak to them about your training expectations, your leagues, your tournaments, what you hope to do with the team. You're not setting anything in stone. You're not saying, we will do this, we will do this. Say, I plan to play these 3 tournaments. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but that's the plan. And if you plan on traveling, now is the time to tell them. You don't want to spring that up on them and say, hey, we're going to do the Tulsa Cup over Thanksgiving. And then they'll be like, well, we got basketball and a few other things. So, and then finally give parents a timetable for when they should hear from you. And I'll get to that. And that's one thing that I'm kind of going to be a stickler on. So when I get back to that, we'll talk about that here shortly. Does anybody have any questions about what I went over about tryouts? Again, it is essential that we help each other out. One of the things that I really want to change in the culture of this club is that we're not a bunch of independents. That's the thing. When I go to a well-run tryout session, it's one organization putting it on, and it's like a smooth machine. And we come from a system where we were all independents coming together under an umbrella. Well, we need to not be under an umbrella. We need to be part of the organization. And being part of the organization is doing those things like helping out other coaches run their sessions so that they can identify players, talk to the people they need to talk to. Because sometimes you have to make those conversations with parents then. So make sure that we have coverage for that. Anybody? You guys are all quiet, so I assume that was clear.
Well, Steve, can I jump? I'm on the call, unfortunately. Sorry, everybody. I'm going to jump in and say that starts from the club office. If we have Charlie, now that we're fully staffed, we've got Charlie running the administration for the select teams. Obviously, we have Steve, which is a huge addition. We have equipment. We've got a great partner with Puma. You guys may not know this, but we get 40% off all of our Puma stuff. So if you need extra equipment, let me know. If you need pop-up goals or whatever. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, use us as your support too. Other coaches, definitely, other managers maybe, but definitely the office too. If you need something, equipment or advice or, help with another tournament or whatever, let us know.
Absolutely. Hey, did you win?
Yeah. Nick's team, unfortunately, Barca didn't win. They played really well. They lost 3-1, and the girls were losing to the Hayden girls were losing to St. James when I left 1-0 at half. So
that's not a bad result there.
Yeah, so I'll have to hear what happened there. But
all right. Well, I'm going to move on to post tryouts because I don't want to keep everybody all night. So.
Real quick, if you don't mind there, Steve. Just with Alex's comment, is that a code, or do we want to put those orders directly through Alex in the front office?
Just send me what you want, and I'll work with our Puma rep to get them to you. I think Mitch might be on the call, and Mitch bought some soccer balls, and we were able to get him. He bought like 6 soccer balls, and we were able to get him 40% off of those. So it doesn't even necessarily have to be Puma stuff, because I can work with Soccer Master to get you guys the stuff that you need. I just need to know what it is, and I'll order it for you, and then you can just hit me up with the cash.
Cool. Just double checking.
Anybody else? All right. Well, I will move on. All right. So, like I said, this is an outline, and we'll again on our next month's meeting. Some of this I may go into a little bit more detail, but just again, post tryouts, my expectation, and I don't want to get grumpy about it, but it's huge. Call everyone that attended your tryout. Number one complaint I've got from every parent about tryouts is, I don't know if my kid made it. I haven't got a phone call. That is, I mean, it's just, it is a expectation. that you either offer them a spot or you let them know that they haven't been selected. And if you need help with that, I have made hundreds of those phone calls. And you know, every high school season, I make those conversations, and there's lots of ways that you can say things that don't have the player completely crushed. And I'd be glad to offer advice in that area, because I've become quite the professional of telling people that they're not going to make a team. You know, whether it was ODP or whether it was club or whether it was a little U10 girls team. There are certainly things that you can do to make it a lot easier. And the biggest thing is tell them right away. Calls need to be made within 24 hours. And I know you guys probably haven't ever heard that before, but that's, if you can't make a decision in 24 hours, have a second tryout, bring them back in. At least they know something. Because the most important thing is if we let everybody know that they're cut, there might, and we do it in a professional way, we might get them back next year, and they might be better developed, and they may fit into the system that you want them to be in. But we don't want to leave them hanging and trying to guess and be very unprofessional. So make sure that you let them know, quicker the better. That way, you know, stressful parents and players can go to another tryout if they don't make yours. So organize your team paperwork after the tryout. Get a list of tournaments and league commitments to Alex so that he knows what he's going to be paying for and charging for. Get your parents on Team Snap. I know that's a little bit of work, but let them know they will miss important communication if they're not on Team Snap, and make sure that they understand the fee process. Having said that, Alex would prefer that not prefer, he wants a written handout per team that outlines club cost details, your training fees details, your contact information, office, social media information, and so forth, what your calendar, practice times that you want. It may not, I mean, we're going to have to work with what everybody wants. You know, everybody wants 2 nights a week on the turf, but we'll work with what we can. And leagues and tournaments, and I already said leagues and tournaments, so I was just reading what Alex sent me, but definitely that's a must. You need to remember that you're going to have to register with Heartland like literally 24 hours after tryouts, because they seem to get earlier and earlier. I'm surprised they're not already asking for money for the fall right now. Use Team Snap to email your parents and get them organized on uniforms. That's another thing. We don't want to weigh down. I mean, we've got a great office staff, but we want to get the uniform orders early so that, you know, the company knows if they've got enough jerseys to send us and so forth. You don't want to wait till August 15th and go, hey, Alex, I need 7 uniforms and shorts and socks and all this stuff, and can you hurry up and screen print them right away for us? Anyway, and then finally determine a start date. When do you want to start? That's completely up to you. Some teams jump right in the start of July, some wait till August. That's completely up to what you think your players need. And again, decisions need to be based on how are you going to best develop the players. And that should be our code that we want for everything that we do. How can I best develop the players? Does anybody have any questions about that? All right. Well, I'm going to close up here and let Alex say anything else he wants here in a minute, but there are kind of a recap of items that I need. I definitely need you guys to tell me and look at the schedule and tell me if there's an issue that you need changed. I need you to figure out what you're going to do with your team. If you're not going to coach, I'd hope you would have said something to me by now, because right now I've got a whole bunch of names on a board of teams that you're coaching. So hopefully you'll let me know if that's not going to happen. And then finally, I need you to get out the pre-camp stuff to the players, get them going, get them involved. If they're not going to our pre-camp, they're going to somebody else's, and you risk losing them. So try to get them to our pre-camp, and then I need help. I need people to help train them, and you should want to help, because that's where you get to look at your players early. And so hopefully we have some kiddos that aren't already in your club that you can train and watch and get an idea before tryouts. Alex, do you have anything else?
The only thing I'd say is clarify that. Remember that your players who bought uniforms last year don't need to buy uniforms unless they want to buy more. They're always welcome to, replenish their socks or whatever through the My Uniform link that we sent last year. If you need that, get with me or Charlie. New players obviously will need to order uniforms ASAP, like Steve said, but existing players should be fine. We will reorder uniforms in the fall of 2022. So it's a 2-year cycle. I'm going to reiterate that I am going to require you, before you re-sign players, to get me or Charlie a list of the tournaments you plan on playing in, at least in the fall. If you plan on playing in league or not, all the stuff that Steve said. I want you to give the parents the club contact information as well as your own. That includes social media and the cost for the club. If you're not sure what those are, then get with me or Charlie. And then the cost if you're charging a trainer's fee, which we talked about that last meeting. I hope that you are. But I need a sheet with all that information on it because we will get asked for that. And it's not only that. This is, like Steve said, working together and that means we have to be unified and all doing at least similar things, if not the same things. So please get that to me. It's kind of not optional because, unless you're not looking for any players, but even then it's good information for us to have in the office. So if you can get that to me, I would super appreciate it. And I'm sure Steve covered everything else. I mean, things haven't changed that much. From an administration side, we're going to have a trophy case in the office. You may have already seen it. So we're going to start collecting trophies for league and tournament wins, finalists and stuff. But get that to me or Melody, which is just marketing at topekasoccerclub.com. And then while we're preparing the end of season video, you and your team can appear in that. And I think that's probably it. We're going to have a skills camp in July. You'll hear more about that. So you can start telling your families about that. Oh, and just so you guys know, a little inside information for you. There is a arena soccer team, a professional arena league soccer team coming to Topeka, probably within the next 12 months. So that should be a really good thing, and they want to do a lot of partnering with us. So we may even be able to train with them, and those could be Sporting Kansas City 2 players coming over from the Sporting Kansas City 2, like their developmental team system. So that could be a good thing. But other than that, I can't think of anything. I'm sure Steve covered it all.
Hey, Steve, Alex, Kevin Maxwell here. Just a quick question with the information that we're wanting to hand out to all the parents. I guess maybe more for Alex. What about using Melody to put together a really professional looking form to send out to everybody? So then we do look. Yeah, a template. So then we're professional. We know everything's in there. And I know she does a great job from the marketing side. But yeah, then that would ensure you get everything back that you need as well.
Kevin, I had drafted a email to Charlie asking just that. So I'm glad you're ahead of that. So there we go. There's 2 for that.
Yeah, that's a definite yes. We will get on that and then send it out by May 1st. That'll give you a 2-week turnaround time.
Okay. Hey, don't forget to send us pictures of your tournaments and stuff like that, because social media is huge, and I did miss that. So thank you, Alex, for reminding me. Any tournaments, anything that you want to post, we'll post. So. Well, almost.
Well, I should say one other thing. Did you talk about fees at all, Steve?
Not in the sense of specifics.
Okay, so I have gotten some questions about this, and I want you all to know, since it's gonna go out in the May newsletter. The prices are going up just a little bit, and we just can't continue to lose money on the program. So we're going to charge annually instead of for the season. So that should make a lot of you guys relieved, because I know it is a pain. We're going to have one registration in the fall that'll be good for the entire season. That's true for high school players as well. And the fees are going to be $5.99 for the season. So that's $100 more than what you're paying now over the course of the year. And then there will be a $50 club fee, but part of that is because of our bylaws. So that $50 club fee not only will, once a player accepts a spot on a club, they'll pay that $50 club fee in June or July. We won't start billing the registration fees until August or September. So there's going to be a little bit of a gap. That $50 club fee also makes all the parents voting members so they can elect members of the board. And I think that's really important because I want to get not only the players more engaged, but also the families so they recognize what's going on at Sunflower. And it may make some of these things that we do in the office make more sense when people can see or talk to board members. You know, Kevin Maxwell is a board member. And one of the great things that we have at the club is the board members who are so engaged and knowledgeable about the programs and the operations of the organization. And I want parents to be exposed to that a little bit more. But there will also be things like working with that arena soccer league team for discounted tickets, and then, you know, discounts at the zoo and other things, and then a t-shirt and a lot of other stuff. But I want everybody to be aware of that. It's an increase of $150, which does feel like a lot over, I'm sure, over the course of the year, but it's important because it's building a better foundation for the club going forward, including things like having Steve and not losing money on stuff. And, you know, we're doing okay financially considering that the last year that everybody's had, but, you know, I want to make sure that we're building towards the future. And part of that is just, you know, being more competitive with other clubs. So if you have questions about that, I'm willing to talk to you about it, but I do want, you know, you're probably going to field some questions about it. So I want you to have some information when parents come to ask you, and you're always welcome to direct them my way, but, you know, so you guys know.
Anybody else? All right, well, we will meet again in May. So put that on your calendars. It'll be on the, like I said, it'll be on the calendar on the website page. So and including the link to Zoom in. All right, everybody have a good evening.